Yeah, apparently I can already update the bracket with the first two games, of course. It's exactly what I was gonna do during the very beginning of 105 versus Barbarian. So here we go. If you want to have a look at the brackets, I can share the link. Here we go. So, and definitely congratulations to Sun Tzu, the AI which managed to get one win against the general. Alright, so the server list has 4 points, so does ISUp machine. But for having won 2-1 against ISUp machine, the server list gets the second spot in this group. Alright, let's focus on Barbarian versus 105. Alright, Leaf, I did manage to finish the 4v4 at the when I restart streaming. The game was saved, so it just ended quite fast. It was like a victory for the general in 5 minutes after having relaunched the streaming. So you can see the end with the VOD. Alright, so 105 did find its opponent. Actually, Barbarian is researching Feudal Age, but it's late compared to Blue. The first tower is going to be important for 105. It's quite close from the lumber camp, so it's going to be interesting to see the behavior of Barbarian against the Thresher. Yeah, Barbarian is reacting as expected. Barbarian is ready to attack the tower as soon as it's built. I think that 105 needs at least 2 or 3 towers to be built. And that way Barbarian should change its behavior. Let's see. Okay, the second tower should be built before the first one is broken this time. And yeah, definitely Barbarian changed its behavior. Now it won't attack the tower anymore. It might be a big mistake. Alright, it's a pretty nice defensive tower for from Barbarian. At least it does have safe wood in the back. In fact, bandit. Yeah, we can expect a great fight here. I like the fact that Barbarian has the opportunity to develop its economy in the back. Unfortunately, Barbarian did build its 2 lumber camp on the same forest. Now let's see if a 3rd lumber camp is going to be built. That's exactly what Barbarian needs. There is a lake of wood for Barbie. And yeah, it's a shame to see that Barbarian is using its 60 wood to build the farm, while it should keep the wood to build the lumber camp. That's going to be a problem. Well, it's turning bad for Barbarian. Well, it looks to be already GG. I'm gonna speed up the game. Alright, so it looks like 1.5 is gonna be one of the very few AIs which managed to beat Barbarian. So 1.5 joins the list of um, Maya, Tribal, Immortal, Rehoboam, Pharaoh, Yggdrasil. Those AIs which have um, gotten some victories against Barbarian in the previous Davis Cups. But definitely this AI made in 3 hours is actually doing a great job. Let's compare the population. Yeah, one of my is researching Castle Age, and it's GG. Sorry for this Barbarian. Alright, Barbarian should have its revenge in the 4v4. Definitely 4v4 is not the best setting for 105. Well, it depends, TFDP. Now we've got few AIs which manage to have a good behavior against Tower Rush or TC Rush. But in fact, Barbarian is not adapted against this strategy. So let's focus on the 4v4. It's gonna be a revenge, I guess, for Barbarian. Alright, so civilization for Barbarian. Celt, Byzantine, Persian and Berber. Alright, so the winner, group 10, will join Rehoboam. No, will join VNS, Yuri, and which else? ST2 Master, and maybe the Horde or the tutorial one in the final stage 1-2. And the loser between Barbarian and 105 will have to face Rehoboam, Daedric, and one more in the round 2. So let's say that we definitely could see Barbarian versus Rehoboam in the next round. So that's going to be really interesting. And I'm not sure TheNightPanda would be happy to see 105 playing against Boom. Two of his AI playing against each other is already something which happened in this round with SkyPanda and Boom. So my prediction is the flanks Barbarian side will suffer, but the pockets will probably rule the game later. So we should see Barbarian winning this. And it shouldn't be a too long game. Unfortunately, 105, which has been scripted in 3 hours, won't research Imperial Age. So it's pretty aggressive in the early game, but it tends to be quite weak in the late game, unfortunately. Yeah, definitely you need a micro to use DUC against those towers. Well, considering Barbarian, we have another version of Barbarian which was made by TheMax, but it's not an official one, unfortunately, and it's that newer version Barbarian do play better against Trash. But because it's not the original version, it won't be used in this tournament. Alright, it's interesting to see Red going for some men-at-arms. It would be interesting them to meet the Threshers. It's a shame to see that it crossed the tower but didn't attack. Anyway, I think that what caused the victory for Barbarian in the 1v1 is also because it built the two lumber camps on the same forest. I think that the game could have been really different if the lumber camp would have been in another place. Alright, it's a double trash, both sides. Yeah, red do have a pretty bad map. The big forests are all in the front. Yeah, that's a big investment in towers by 105. But it's all what it know to do in Feudal Age. Alright, so purple goes well for one stable only, and it will attempt a small boom. It looks to be the same strategy for yellow. Well, it looks like grey and teal stopped to trash. So did green, but blue keeps trashing. It really wants red to die. And I really like the fact that Barbarian decides to attack the enemy's economy instead of attacking the towers. That's really more efficient this way. So we've got a 3 TC boom for yellow and purple. Or maybe 2 TC for purple. Yeah, it decided to invest on three stables, okay. And 3 TC and 2 stable for yellow. So let's compare the population. Player 1 is researching Castle Age with 30 population, 6 population for red, 52 for green, almost 100 for yellow, which is booming quite well, 54 for teal, 105 for purple, gray is low pop 27, and 44 for orange. Alright, so orange is not actually in a too bad shape, at least helped by the 2 lumber camp in the back, while the poor red did suffer too much because of its bad map. Barbarian's pockets are doing a good job, and they outboom green and teal. I think that the most important game is gonna be the 2v2, because at this point Barbarian is really dominating despite a close score. And the score might be 1-1 after the 4v4, so the winner in the 2v2 will get the first place in this group. And for the 2v2, I definitely would like one Barbarian to have a good map with an armor camp built in the back to have a good game. And Teal is really prepared to kill orange. Yeah, it do have 5 rams. Alright, 32 minutes and yellow is already in Imperial Age. That's a pretty decent Imperial Age time. I'm surprised to see red going for archers, despite the fact that it probably do not have any villager. Yeah, 0 villager and 5 archers. Well, I think that 105 is not really Arabian Nights, because Arabian Night is very specific, using markets as Saracen, while 105 just play normal, I would say. It will gather the resources and then it uses it, while Arabian Night will go for gold and stone and will buy food. So it's very specific to Arabian Nights. Alright, eventually we will see rams from Teal. Let's see. I'm scared that the ram will be killed by the purple knights. Alright, rams managed to survive. Well, orange is lucky because it just reached castle age before a potential TC destroyed. Okay, 4 times the speed to give it a end, and then we will run the 2v2. Well, the both flanks managed to survive eventually. Barbarian side. Well, red didn't really survive, but it's still there. Alright, GG. Let's run the 2v2. So this time Barbarian will be Celt and Vietnamese. Alright, so to get the victory, 105 know what to do. But Barbarian don't need to be 2 to win. Just if one trash fails, I think that one Barbarian can win the game all alone. Let's have a look at the map, Barbarian side. Alright, so red to have already a good first lumber camp. I wouldn't be surprised if yellow built its lumber camp in the front, unfortunately. But at least red do have a great lumber camp. Oh, nice. Okay. Well, yellow's lumber camp is a bit far away, but we can expect the second lumber camp to be built on another forest, which can be something good. Time to explore for 105. Alright. The two barbarians are found. Okay, let's say that the second lumber camp is really bad for yellow, but we've got a good one in the back. I assume that red is gonna go for a classic archer rush, and the same for yellow. So we're still in the final stage, round 1, and I would say that we are at the end of this stage. Next one is gonna be the round 2, and we'll start next week. So we are close to have 32 AIs now still qualified. Barbarian and 105 are already qualified, but this game, the 2v2, is gonna define who is the winner in the group 10. And the loser group 10 will join Rehoboom in the round 2. So better win the 2v2. Pretty interesting tower from yellow. Well, red's tower is also great. Well, the next tower is going to be quite aggressive from blue. And we saw in the previous games that if the tower attacks the farms, it tends to be pretty hard for Barbarian to keep getting the food, because villagers tend to stay idle under the TC when the farms are attacked. So let's say that the next tower is going to be pretty important for blue. And I keep thinking that Barbarian just need to be one survivor which can win the game in 1v2 in the late game. Green is in a good position, it just needs to finish that tower, and I'm scared for yellow. Yeah, some villagers start to have a bad behavior under the TC. Red is not too bad. It looks like blue lost its villagers' treasures. Red is safe. Alright, so let's compare the population at this point. We've got the blue player, 33 population, 35 for red, 38 for green, and 57 for yellow. Okay, yellow is actually in a good shape, despite the fact that we see those villagers which start being idle. Well, when I say idle, I mean they just walk while being disturbed. But the good point is we've got almost 40 villagers which are, maybe 30 villagers which are working. And we've got 9 skirmishers, or 8. Yeah, the game is definitely close, to be honest. I wanted a game like this. I'm quite happy to see that Barbarian is in a good position eventually. It managed to survive from the early trash. Yeah, blue do have an advantage. It's actually researching Castle Age. But let's see, because it will need time to mass knights. It might give the time for red to reach Castle Age and to have at least some units to defend. Yeah, I think that it's turning now a bit bad for yellow. But well, yellow is eventually researching Castle Age. So does green. Now it's red, which is a bit late. Alright, so we've got the Siege Workshop from yellow. Indeed, Barbarian knows how to play against the Thresher, despite the sometimes bad behavior from the villagers in the early game. It knows how to train rams as a priority to clean the map. I think that actually yellow doesn't know that green is having knights. Alright, we've got two rams, and unfortunately they stay garrisoned. I assume that Barbarian wants a third one. So we've got 4 knights for green and almost, let's say, 7 or 8 knights for blue. So we should see a siege workshop for red. Yep. Yeah, that's really sad that the rams don't attack the towers. Alright, eventually Oh, a second siege workshop for red. As Celt, we can imagine that it would go for scorpions, maybe. But indeed, it needs rams first. We've got 3 remaining towers for blue. And blue starts to be scary, with a lot of knights already. Let's compare the population. Player 1, 80 population, 52, 78, and 52. Yeah, that's a clear domination actually for 105. And the priority being given to Siege Workshop and Rams. Barbarian is prevented to bulge extra TCs for yellow, but red managed to have already 3 TCs, so we can expect a boom from red. Well, it's close to be Titanic for yellow, which is not too far from losing its TC. So as expected, we've got a few scorpions from red. And I can confirm that he didn't see the knights from the opponent. And I'm scared that it's gonna be too late for red. Yeah, we've got Shenbirding already researched for blue. That might help a lot against the scorpions. Alright, we've got a second TC eventually for yellow. And I wouldn't be surprised if Barbarian resigned when it's below 50 population at this point. Let's see. That's the loser, Leif Erikson, which will play Rehoboam. So it looks like we will have Rehoboam versus Barbarian in the next stage. So it may be Rehoboam, Daedric, Barbarian, and the second group 9. So it could be the Horde of the tutorial ones. So let's say that if we've got the Horde with Rehoboam, Daedric, and Barbarian, it would make group 6 a crazy group. So this is confirmed. We will have Barbarian with Rehoboam. Phew, okay. Congratulations 105. A script made in 3 hours. That's quite impressive. Well, green do have a crazy kill ratio. 169 kill against set losses. That's crazy. Alright, so yeah, I think so, Bandit. I think that TheNightPanda will be happy. I'm gonna show the bracket. So Barbarian, it lost the 1v1. It lost the 2v2. It won the 4v4. Alright, so 105 gets the first place because it won 2-1 against Barbarian, despite the fact that they both have 7 points. So Barbarian joins group 6. And 105 group 5. And I also need to put the general and the survivalist. So one group 13. With POCBS, the unknown and Yggdrasil. And the survivalist will join group 8 with Pharaoh, Elephant Man and Juggernaut. Alright. Alright, so I'm out for tonight. So I might be here tomorrow for some more games. Have a good night and see you.